All right, so good morning, everyone. Good morning, BSI as a first year, and welcome back to our discussion. I guess it's been 3 weeks since the last time that we had our virtual class. But finally, we're here since SK, our school was locked down for 2 weeks kasi nga ang dami ng positive. So I hope everybody is getting fine today. Keep safe always. So yun nga, no, we should understand each other. Minsan lang tayo makapag-online because I also consider you, yung iba walang cellphone, walang load, but I want you to take time to listen to every discussion we had, considering na minsan lang tayo nag-online. And with that, don't ever forget to write your name in the comment section and finish this video until the last part because I will be asking questions in the middle of this discussion that you need to input or you need to enter your answer on the comment section, okay? So when you enter your answer on the comment section, please include your name and your section. Since this video is for the 3 sections, 1A, 1B, and 1C, therefore you have to write your answer and your name on it, okay? So this morning, we are going to discuss the chapter 4 that deals with the world of ideas. In here, we will discuss how globalization affects culture. Like here in the Philippines, we are Filipino and we are having our culture, but we all know that we are called having different culture. I mean, we are influenced by Western people because of the colonization. We cannot deny the fact that we are being colonized for 333 years. Take note of that. Naging nasakop tayo sa loob ng 333 years. Therefore, it is really evident that most of us, we sometimes adapt the culture of others. No? Okay? Because according to Martin Core, when we talk about globalization, it also talks about colonization. Sa pagsasagawa ng globalisasyon, pumapasok din dito yung tinatawag nating colonization or yung panakop. So in this discussion, we will dig deeper how does this globalization affect the culture and the lives of Filipino and even people around the world. So I'm going to share my screen now again. Do not skip this video. You have to watch until the end because I will be asking some questions in the middle of this discussion. Okay? And expectedly, right after this discussion, I will be uploading or I will be posting some activities in our e-leads. Okay? And please be reminded na yung last day ng class natin is July. So we really have to take time. Kaya may mga part na natin kailangan i-online. Kasi nga, this video will serve as the follow-up. Kasi minsan, the teacher should follow up the lesson. Kasi nga, hindi enough yung module lang. I believe that you really find difficulty in understanding our discussion. Kasi nga, walang assistance ng teacher. That's the reason why I am doing this video that will serve as assistance in your modular class. All right. No. So we are now on chapter 4. Finally, no, it's not this. Please, sa mga latecomers dyan, please write your name on the comment section. Okay? So we are now in chapter 4, which deals with a world of ideas, or this is what we call global media cultures. So global media culture explores the relationship between the media culture and globalization. Pag-usapan natin ito kung ano yung pagkakaugnay ng media, culture, and globalization. When we talk about media, ito na yung paggamit ng mga gadgets, internet, social media, culture, our culture. I know that we have different, since we are having different tribes in the Philippines. It is also a fact that we are also having different cultures and globalization. As technology arises, alam naman natin when we talk about globalization, it's a process wherein there is a change because of interconnectedness. And that interconnectedness or that relationship happens because of media, because of interculture, international summit, so on and so forth. So the course approaches past and current challenges concerning international communication and explores and problematizes the power of media representation. So this chapter deals with how globalization through media affects culture. So yun na nga. Ano ba yung effect ng culture or ng media, paggamit ng mga social media sa kultura ng bawat bansa or ng bawat tribo. So it also explores global media across different culture. Students will engage with debates. Okay. So hindi ito mangyayari kasi nga we are having our uh, virtual class. So we have here our objectives, general objectives for this chapter. Analyze how various media drive various forms of global integration and explain the dynamic between local and global culture production. Now let's begin with globalization of media culture. Globalization of culture is one where the entire world has been molded of the image of Western, mainly American culture. And this is true. Ito yung sinasabi ko sa ating kanina. So, as we go along with this globalization, so nangyayari itong westernization. Ano itong westernization? This is the impact or effect ng globalization sa ating kultura, wherein we are already adopting the culture of Western people. Kumbaga, tayo na Pilipino, most of us, and I know you're amenable of this, lahat tayo is we tend to adopt the culture of others. Bakit mas gusto natin ang BTS, di ba? Bakit mas gusto natin yung pagkain Western, pagkain dayuhan? Bakit mas gusto nating i-adapt yung panunuor o yung makasuutan ng mga dayuhan, especially American culture? Because it's not just about dahil na-colonize tayo, pero nangyayari ito dahil sa globalization. Nakikita natin sa social media, sa TV, sa Facebook, ang daming social media platforms na nagpapakita ng kultura ng iba. At pag magandahan tayo dito bilang Pilipino, we tend to adapt it. Anyway, I cannot deny the fact that even I myself, I'm also doing this. Kasi minsan we are amazed with how they're dressed up. But there's no problem with that. Walang problema if we are going to adapt them. Kasi nga maganda. But what matters is that we should not forget our own. Dapat kahit tinatakilik natin ang kultura ng iba, we should always look back in ours. We should also patronize our culture, our dress, our food. I hope you're doing that. Kasi minsan, it's sad to say that there are some Filipinos who work abroad. And as they go back here in the Philippines, parang, ay, ayaw ko nung kumain ng bulad, di ba? Ayaw ko nung kumain ng ganito. I want to eat American food. Babalik ako doon. So parang, no, it's something na wala yung ating pagiging patriotic. Or, minsan sinatawag nating ambisyosa, di ba? But that's a reality. May mga ganun talagang tao that they tend to forget their culture. I don't know kung yun ba talaga ang totoo or they just wanted to be famous. Okay? They wanted to be famous. Okay. Before we continue, I want you to answer this question and please write down your answer in the comment section. So my question is, how does globalization affect you? So ngayon it is your own or it's your personal opinion. So I want you to write down in the comment section, sa tingin nyo ba kung na-influensyahan na kayo ng ibang kultura, paano ito nangyari? Sa anong paraan? At ano yung bagay na na-influensyahan kayo? Sa panamit ba? Pagkain? Sayaw? Way of living? So you have to write down for 10 points. Okay? I will give you 1 minute again. Paano ba kayo naapektuhan ng globalization? Paano binago ng globalization ang inyong pagkatao? At ano yun siya? Sa panamit ba? Be specific. Okay, so please write down your name or write down your answer in the comment section with your name and section. Okay, I will give you 1 minute. All right, so thank you so much for sharing your answer. I will be checking your answer later on. So these are some examples in popular professional discourses alike. The popularity of Big Macs, Firewatch, and MTV are touted as unmistakable signs of fulfillment of Marshall Luhan's prophecy of global village. So ito yung mga halimbawa ng mga media, social media platform wherein uh, other cultures' exposure are present. Now, the globalization of culture is often chiefly imputed to international mass media. After all, contemporary media technologies such as satellite television, internet, ito na yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, yung mga television, internet, have created a steady flow of transnational images that connect audiences worldwide. So we don't have to go to other country na ngayon kasi meron na tayong mga television at internet. Wherein in internet, we can find anything. We can watch anything. We can explore anything. Like the culture of others are really exposed. Nakita natin lahat. Like pag sobrang panonood natin, especially the way they cook, the way they dress up, the way they live every day, parang na-adapt natin yun. No? That's the effect of it because we are also exposed with internet. Therefore, we are also exposed with their culture. And that's how it works. No? Without global media, according to the conventional wisdom, how would teenager in India, Turkey, Argentina embrace Western lifestyle of Nike shoes? Tama. Coca-Cola. So sa tingin nyo kung walang internet, paano magkaroon ng idea yung mga kabataan sa bawat sulok ng bansa? Like, meron parang Nike shoes. Because these are Western lifestyle. Kaiban tayo, di ba? We're also using this. We're also patronizing. Yun nga lang yung atin, mga overruns lang, di ba? Pero okay na rin yun. At least Nike pa rin. Ito yung mga imitation, yung mga replika. Coca-Cola and rock music. Bakit we sing the song of Anne-Marie? 2002, di ba? And what else? Yung awit ng BTS, High Like That. Oh, di ba? How do we know those songs? The song of Ed Sheeran. What else? Ano pa yung alam yung mga artists without going to their country? We can appreciate or we can explore this music because of internet. And the existence of internet is due to globalization. Tandaan natin na ang pag-move ng mga technology, ang pag-move ng mga products sa ating bansa, pagpasok, import, export, that's under globalization. So that's how globalization works in our lives. And that's how globalization works or changes or affects the culture of Filipino. Hence, the putatively strong influence of the mass media and globalization of culture. That's it. That's the most powerful, strongest influence of mass media on the globalization. Hmm? So nagiging way ang mass media sa pagpasok o sa pag-reach out or pag-spread out ng globalization of culture. Kasi hindi mapapadala ang culture. Hindi siya maipa-ship, papakargo, di ba? But we can see it through Facebook, through YouTube, through any kinds of social media platform. Excuse me. Now we have our specific objective, determine the role of media and globalization in the spread of Western culture, link the relationship of hybridization to globalization. Ano kaya ibig sabihin ng hybridization? Cite problems issue on the rise of globalization that affects your culture, beliefs, and tradition. Ito yung pinaka-importante sa lahat. We will exploring in this lesson kung ano ba yung nagiging epekto ng globalization ngayon sa inyong kultura. Now, the role of the mass media in the globalization of culture is a contested issue in international community theory and research. Early theories of media influence, commonly referred to as magic bullet or hypodermic needle theories, believe that the mass media had powerful effects over audiences. Tinatawag siyang magic bullet. Magic siya na bala kasi nga we are affected of it. Diba? Like, pag open mo ng phone mo din makita mo na marami, parang it's really hard for you to, not to touch your phone at all. Kayo ba kaya nyo bang di gumamit ng cellphone every day? And as what I had observed, aside from playing mobile games, sometimes we keep on scrolling our phones, like, marami tayong video makikita, ang daming video makikita, then it engages our attention. Parang, and ito pala yung kultura ng South Korea. I love to go to South Korea because of BTS, because of these Korean singers, Korean artists. And sometimes you wanted to follow how they dress up, how they eat their foods. Yung mga, ang dami, no? Yung kimchi, ang dami. Like, even here in Tacorong City, meron ng mga Korean store. And that's because of globalization. We are really affected by this globalization, even our culture. At the same time, nevertheless, key theoretical formulation in international communication clung to a belief in powerful media effects on cultures and communities. So grabe it has been proven na mas grabe yung epekto ng media, mass media sa kultura at sa bawat lugar. At the same time, a body of literature questioning the scope of the level of influence of transnational media has emerged. Whereas some scholars within the tradition question cultural imperialism without providing conceptual alternatives, others have drawn on an interdisciplinary literature from across the social sciences and humanities to develop theoretical alternatives to cultural imperialism. So ang dami ng theories ang ginamit, bakit ito nangyari. And ang daming expert ang nag-aral, bakit kaya ito nangyayari. So sa anong dahilan na epektohan yung ating kultura sa paggamit ng mass media. Now, let us discuss cultural imperialism and the global media debate. In international communication theory and research, cultural imperialism argued that audiences across the globe are heavily affected by media. So, ito na yung sinasabi ko. Like, we are messages emanating from the Western industrialized country. Although there are minor differences between media imperialism and cultural imperialism, most of the literature in international communication treats the former as the category of the latter. So, what do you mean by this media imperialism and cultural imperialism? So, this is how media works. This is how media affects our lives. Minsan naging alipin na tayo ng social media. Grounded in an understanding of media's cultural industries, cultural imperialism is firmly rooted in a political economic perspective of international communication. So yeah, now when we talk about cultural imperialism, it has something to do with political economy. Syempre, andyan yung politics system. No? Sometimes the way we deal with politics, it also influences. We are also influenced by other country. Even ang ating pamamalakad sa batas, I guess it's not our original. No? Parang it's also a effect of globalization. Kasi we are adapting. Kung anong best, sometimes, diba, from other country, we are adapting it. Especially sa technology. So as a school of thought, political economy focuses on material issues such as capital, infrastructure, and political control as key determinants of international communication processes and effects. In the early stages of cultural imperialism, researchers focused their efforts mostly on nation-states as primary actors in international relations. They imputed rich industrials or Western nation-states with intention and action by which they export their cultural products and impose their social-cultural values on poorer and weaker nations in the developing world. So ito na sasabi ko sa inyo na yung partnership. So ginamit na partnership like tinutulungan ng mga developed country, yung mga tulad nating developing. Take note ha, ito yung exam natin maraming nagkamali. Ang Pilipinas ay kasali sa tatawag nating developing means on progress pa lang. No? Developing pa lang tayo. And through globalization, parang as what we have been discussing before, so through globalization, nagkakaroon ng partnership, kaya umaangat ang ibang bansa, like exchanges of products, investment, so andun, no? Pero ang isang pagkakamali is yung hindi nakikita ng mga eksperto is hindi nila alam na habang pumapasok or habang nag-i-invest yung ibang bansa, especially Western countries sa mga, excuse me, habang nag-i-invest yung ibang country sa ating bansa, yung hindi nakikita ng mga expert is that pumapasok din yung colonization. Like, we adopt their products, we adopt their lifestyle, we adopt their food. At alam naman natin tayo ng mga Pilipino, basta foreigner, grabe gid, no? Basta foreigner, grabe yung taas natin. Look, yung tingin natin, ang taas-taas. Wow, foreigner. Then minsan nagamanhol-manhol pa tayo because they are foreigners. But we don't know, we are being colonized. We are being what? Invaded. So yun na, no? Let's move on. This concern led to the rise of New World Information Order, or NWIO debate, later known as the New World Information Order debate. Although the debate at first was concerned with news flows between in the North and South, it should evolve to include all international media flow. So ang concern ng mga organization na to is yung pagpapadala ng mga news through social media. Pero alam niyo ba in South Korea, in North Korea, walang masyadong globalization, no? All of the countries in the world are being affected of globalization. Except North Korea. Kasi alam natin sa North Korea, there are limited TV stations, channels. Bawal kang magdala ng mga movie from other country, i-import mo sa kanila. Bawal ka maglagay ng mga channel. Dapat kung ano yung prescribed na channel ni ng kanilang president, si Kim Jong, dapat yun lang yung panuorin. Therefore, walang colonization, walang globalization. Pero yun nga lang, no, nagiging, what do you call this? Nagiging, or nawawala yung freedom ng isang tao. Kasi yun naman, di ba? Like, it against human rights. So, human rights naman yung kalaban. Although, in some ways, kung mapansin natin, and if you're watching some videos or vlogs about North Korea lives, makita natin doon na very traditional ang mga tao and there, walang bahid ng influensya. Maybe in the earlier times, they were influenced by some Western people. But as of today, parang na-maintain pa rin nila yung pagiging Korean people nila. Like, yung mga babae nila, yung buhok, wala masyadong plastic surgery. Ibig sabihin, walang masyadong globalization, walang colonization dahil limited yung kanilang social media account. Or even, I don't know if they have Facebook in North Korea. But as to the TV channels, very limited lang yung channel ang panood nila. So gusto ng president na may iwasan yung ganitong uri ng pagpasok ng mga ibang kultura at makalimutan ng ibang kultura. This was due to the fact that inequality existed in news and entertainment programs alike. So hindi lahat na napapanood natin sa TV ay maganda. Kaya nga nagkaroon ng debate, no? Kasi may mga gina-filter na lang na balita. Kasi minsan, it affects lives. Sometimes it brings depression, no? Depende sa uri ng video. If you could still remember yung nag-viral na mobile game, yung magsisuicide yung mga bata. So that's another scope of this organizations para may iwasan yung mga ganung uri ng instances. Excuse me. And to the advent of the new media, technologies such as communication satellites, which made the international media landscape more complex and therefore widen the scope of the debate about international flows. Minsan, hindi lahat ng paraan nakakatulong yung napapanood natin, especially the young ones, di ba? Hindi lahat ng napapanood natin from Western country ay maganda. For example, yung sex. And we all know that sex scandal, pornographic sites are, it was started from Western countries. Then later on, ginaya ng mga Pilipino kaya nagkaroon ng mga premarital sex, ang dami mga early pregnancy. So isa yung mga halimbawa na dapat i-control ng NWIO or NWICO, yung mga ganung uri ng palabas or content. But as of today, very rampant and parang it's uncontrollable na. Kasi halos ang bata may cellphone. So yun, no, kung mayroong advantage ng pag-rise ng social media or mass media as part of globalization, it also deals with or it also brings disadvantages. So yun na yung mga nabanggit natin. So I hope kayo do not be a slave of social media. Dapat alam pa rin natin gawin or dapat we should also focus in our study. Although we can say na malaki yung tulong ng social media or ng internet because we are having now our online class. And we do not need to go to library to read some instances, to read some books, but it's found on or in the internet. But I mind you, not all the things that you read from the internet are reliable. We should also know how to filter. We should know how to deal with this news, with these facts. Kasi ang daming fake news, no? Fake news is, it's rampant. It's everywhere, actually. So yan, yung free flow. Ang daming problemang nag-exist. So, hindi natin yan i-discuss. So, gikuan ko na yun, isam up ko na. Let's check our time first. What time is it? Kasi limited lang yung time ng aking live stream. Basta if you're going to sum it up, no, the main theme or the heart of this discussion is on globalization through social media or through mass media and how these things affect our culture, our lives as Filipino. So, okay, still have time, I guess. So, we still need to discuss some things. So, yung iba i-kuha na natin, no? O ito na. Let's move on to media globalization and hybridization. Ano ba kayo sabihin dito? Several reasons explain the analytical shift from cultural imperialism to globalization. First, the end of the Cold War as a global framework for ideological, geopolitical, economic competition calls for a rethinking of the analytic categories and paradigms of thought. By giving rise to the United States as sole superpower and the same time making the world fragmented, the end of the Cold War ushered in an era of complexity between global forces, of cohesion and local reaction of dispersal. In this complex era, the nation state is no longer the sole of dominant player. Since transnational transactions occur on subnational, national, and supranational levels, conceptually, globalization appears to capture this complexity better than cultural imperialism. Second, according to John Camilson in 1991, globalization replaced cultural imperialism because it conveys a process with less coherence and direction, which will weaken the cultural unity of all nations, not only those in the developing world. Finally, globalization has emerged as a key perspective across the humanities and social sciences, current undoubtedly affecting the discipline of communication. So that's how it, when we talk about globalization, ang dami, ano, it's at, by the end of the World War or the Cold War, nagsimula na mag-arise yung globalization because of social media. So, it shows how it affects, no? Nagpapakita pa ng ano yung naging epekto, especially United Nations. Most of the time, ang kultura natin is we are solely affected by United States talaga. Kasi alam natin ang when we talk about United States, sila yung pinakamakapangyarihan aside from Spaniards. So, isa rin ang epekto sa atin is yung mga Amerikano. American people really affect us, especially our culture. Okay, because most of the rise of technology, this can be attributed to the dominance of American people. Kumbaga, grabe ka-influential yung mga American people. Because we cannot deny the fact that ang mga Amerikano is ang nagdala sa atin ng edukasyon. Therefore, sa pagdala ng edukasyon sa ating bansa, we are also, they are also bringing their culture. Like, we tend to adapt their culture because of education. So as this country educate us, they also give us a flavor of their own culture. They also give us the flavor of their culture. So in fact, globalization of culture has become a conceptual magnet attracting research and theorizing efforts from a variety discipline of interdisciplinary information such as anthropology, comparative literature, cultural studies, communication, mass media. So, ito mahalaga. Forward natin. Although the media are undeniably one of the engines of cultural globalization, take note of this line. It is emphasized here how powerful media is and how this media affects globalization. So, although the media are undeniably one of the engines of cultural globalization, sabihin, isa sa pinaka-way or pinaka-tool ng globalization is ang paggamit ng media para mapalawak yung globalization or yung cultural globalization. So, through social media, yun ka sabi kanina, through social media, we are becoming aware of the culture of others. And later on, we tend to adapt this culture. That's the sad thing about it. And the worst one is that we tend to forget ours because we love theirs. So parang ganun yung nangyayari, no? So I hope this won't happen to you. No? This won't be happening to you. Excuse me. Medyo makati yung nose ko. All right. So there are some questions about this. No? Like, did the mass media trigger and create globalization of culture? Or is the globalization culture an old phenomenon that has only been intensified and made more obvious in the advent of transnational media technology? So ang daming katanungan like gaano ba ka-affected yung ating bansa or gaano ba ka-affected ang kultura ng bawat bansa because of this mass media? Or paano ba pinalawak ng mass media ang globalization? Of course, it is really evident that globalization really, it was dispersed around the world because of social media. Social media, mass media platforms, sila yung nagdadala sa ating ng mga ganitong uri ng mga pananakop or mga impluensya. Like the age-old question about whether the egg and came, the chicken, or vice versa. The question about the relationship between media. So may mga tanong pa rin na ito, is it really the mass media ba talaga yung nagdala? Or still part of some phenomenon? Parang ganun. One perspective on the globalization of culture, somewhat reminiscent of cultural imperialism in terms of the nature of the effect of media culture somewhat. Okay. Ayan na yung mga palabas ng mga TV. So ang dami. Ito yung mga TV na napapakita. Mga TV station, actually, TV program that shows globalization. So forward lang natin. So here, this is very important. What is macro? Although Barber rightly points to transnational capitalism as driving engine that brings jihad and Macworld in contact and motivates their action, his model has two limitations. First, it is based on a binary opposition between jihad, blah, 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 federalism, Macworld, driven. So let's move on to the important part of it. Focus lang tayo kasi it's masyadong mahaba yung discussion. Alright, ito na. What is hybridization? So another perspective of globalization is cultural hybridity or yung hybridization. Kapag sinabing hybrid, anybody, can you answer? Kapag sinabing hybrid, anong idea natin? When you heard the word hybrid or hybridization, how is it? Anybody? I will give 5 points to the one who can correctly answer. When we talk about hybridization or hybrid, ano papasok sa mind natin? Okay, thank you. Now, in this view privileges an understanding of the surface of globalization and colonization, localization as a dynamic process and hybrid product of mixed tradition. So when we talk about hybridization, means mixed culture, mixed tradition. Hybrid na siya, may halo siya nga mestizo, di ba? Or we call it mestizo. So we call hybridization because we cannot deny the fact since we are colonized for 333 years, therefore, we're having mixed tradition. Minsan, maraming Pilipino ang parang mukhang Spanish, mukhang American, because we have this mixed tradition and cultural form. As such, this perspective does not give prominence to globalization as a homogenizing force, nor does it believe in localization as a resistive process opposed to globalization. Rather, hybridization advocates an emphasis on the processes of mediation that it views as central cultural globalization. The concept of hybridization is the product of interdisciplinary work mostly based on intellectual project as post-colonialism. So yung pinaka-goal talaga ng hybridization is that it deals with interdisciplinary like how does different discipline merge to come up with an idea, to study about globalization. Or else, if we're going to relate it with globalization, when we talk about hybridization, it deals with what? The strong partnership, the strong linkages ng bawat bansa to help one another. So parang ganon, kung we're going to use it as a metaphor side, so we can say that hybridization is more on partnership, more on collaboration, more on interconnectedness that aims to help one another. So hybridization has been used in communication and media studies and appears to be productive theoretical orientation as researchers in international media studies attempt to grasp the complex subtleties of globalization of culture. Anyway, all of them, they talk about the globalization of culture. So one of the most influential voices in the debate about blah, blah, blah is the Argentinian Mexican cultural critic Nestor in his book Hybrid Culture. So you just read it, basahin nyo na lang ito ha. So si si Nestor, he is one of the advocates of this hybridization. Like in this book, he discussed or his analysis is both broad and incisive, covering a variety of cultural processes and institutions such as museum, television, film, universities, political cartoons, graffiti, and visual art. So it's more still on the culture or hybridization culture. So i-pass na lang natin. All right. So again, let's just recall. So when we talk about hybridization, it is what? The mixed culture. Like when we talk about you are being hybridized means you are having mixed culture because we are being influenced by Western people. And when we talk about the world of ideas, it deals with how globalization affects our culture through what? Through social media. So ang dami ng pagkain, panamit, and all. Now, later on, I will be posting for our activity. Gusto kong gumawa kayo ng short video. Okay ha? Short video, 2 to 3 minutes, and you have to discuss how globalization. I-explain nyo. It's up to you. You can use your own dialect. Pwede kayo mag-Ilonggo, Teduray, Manubo, Bisaya, Muslim, Ilocano, and pero situate na may translation sa baba ha. Ilocano, and our English, pwede English. Like, try to discuss how globalization affects culture. So parang magkakaroon kayo ng short newscasting. Magkaroon kayo ng short pagbabalita. Like, you can use sound effects. And I will give 30 points for this. Be creative, at least 2 to 3 minutes, and upload it on YouTube or Facebook or in e-leads. Pag hindi makaya sa e-leads, just post it on Facebook or YouTube. Then, please get the link from that media and attach nyo sa ating e-leads. Again, parang short siya na pagbabalita. Dapat nakasuot kayo ng formal dress or any form, semi-formal dress, and you are discussing about the effect of globalization or mass media to your culture, especially to Filipino culture. Okay? Anyway, I'll be posting it in our e-leads so you can follow it up. Okay? So thank you so much, everyone. Please do not forget to write your name in the comment section and answer all the questions that we have. Okay? All right. Because it's already 12. All right, so see you next meeting. I hope everybody is getting well in this pandemic. Please take good care of yourself. And please don't forget our activity. So ang gagawin sa activity niyo parang newscasting yung mangyayari. You talk and i-discuss nyo kung ano ba yung naging epekto. Pwede na kayo mag-interview kunwari ng mga tao. Para bahala na kayo. Pwede rin wala na lang. Like, kayo diretso yung mag-discuss. Paano ba napektuhan ng mga other Western countries ang ating kultura at sa anong paraan at ano ito. Okay? So, goodbye everyone. God bless.